Today on In Conversation with Rudy Samuel, we sit down with a man whose life is a true testament to resilience. From living in a homeless shelter for 10 years, surrounded by instability, to becoming a novelist, speaker, and one of Africa's few etiquette consultants, Prince Ndaba has turned ashes into beauty and zero into hero. This conversation is about hope, faith, and the power of rewriting your story. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Prince Ndaba.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Rudy,
what up, bro? Are you good? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Of course. You know,
beautiful place, beautiful studio.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't usually wear formal, but I know you're the formal guy. So I tried my best to have a shirt, you know, even the pants are formal, you can't see.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, you know, fit into your vibe.
Yes.
So let's start from the beginning, as I always like to do. I like to show people, my viewers, that I appreciate, who I'm dealing with today and how they got to where they are today. So can you take us back to the early years after losing your dad? What was life like in the shelter? I believe your answer will tell the people exactly who you are.
Right. My life was horrible, of course, because, you know, when you have someone that you know as your hero, someone who is never wrong, someone who can protect you. The Irish say that when your father dies, you lose the umbrella against bad weather. And, you know, it becomes really tough because you are vulnerable. You're vulnerable to other men. They can come into your house and they can do anything they want to do. That actually did happen, but we'll get into that. You're vulnerable to even spiritually. You know, you're just, like I said, you don't have an umbrella and it's raining and it's pouring. That's how it felt. And that's how it was.
So what happened? How did you find yourself in the shelter?
So, you know, my origin story can be summed up within 5 houses.
Okay.
The first house was the house that we call the yellow house. So in my house, we call it the yellow house. This was a house in Blue Rand, here in Four Ways. And it was the biggest house on the street at the time. Huge house. I liken it to a mansion. It was beautiful. And within the house, it was me, my siblings, my mother, and my father. We had pets, you know, we had vehicles. It was a beautiful experience, a beautiful house. And that is what we see, or that, for me, that's stability. That showed me very early what a family is supposed to be like. It was beautiful. It was lovely. God was really keeping us. But then my father died. He had 3 strokes. So my father had the first stroke and he couldn't work anymore. And, you know, that experience was it was terrifying because imagine I tell you, Rudy, that I have a legendary gift for you. And I'm going to give it to you on your birthday, which is November, right?
Mm-hmm. You listen, eh?
So I tell you I have this legendary gift and you're expecting something beautiful, maybe like an iPhone, sleek, powerful iPhone. On that day, I come and I give you this gift and it's wrapped, it's beautiful. And you open up this gift and you find a Nokia 3310 beaten up. That's how it was like, because my father was this big guy. He was taller than I am. I stand 6 feet tall. He was like maybe 6'1". Mm-hmm. That's how I remember him. He used to put me on his shoulders and he could speak, so people would listen to him. He left. He had his first stroke and he left. And then we moved to the shelter. And then when he came back, he was no longer that guy. He was in a wheelchair. And half of his body didn't work. Mm-hmm. So he would speak from one side of his mouth. Mm-hmm. And what's worse is that he never remembered us. Sometimes he would remember, like, are you my son? Yes. But sometimes he's like, who are you? You know? So we're in the shelter now. And the shelter is this, you know, shelters are places where you find people that don't have places to live. There are all sorts of characters at the shelter. And then that's the second house.
So the yellow house, the shelter.
Yeah. So within the shelter, the owners of that particular shelter were building a house for themselves, which they didn't complete. It was a double-story house, but only the top was you could live in. The bottom was like filled with rubble and whatever. They gave us that house. They said, okay, you guys are a big family. You guys can go and sit in this and live in this house. And we did. And the house then started to collapse. It collapsed while we were still staying there. And that house for me represents the collapse. It represents the fall. When death entered, then there was the fall. And, it was just uncertain. But my mom, who's a woman of faith, she just kept on praying. And it wasn't easy for her. I would not be here if it wasn't for her. My mom, she really loves God and she was serving him. So that's the second house. Then the house actually collapsed. So we had to move from the house. But what is the shelter owners going to do with this big family? They can't separate us, which they tried. Yeah. Because what they usually do is, if it's a big family, they'll take the two elders and they'll take them to another shelter this side. And that's how it is. But they didn't separate us. They wanted us to be together. Then we moved into the library. That was our house. They just removed the books, and as a family, we moved into the library. We squatted in the library. And during that time, my mom remarried. She remarried a white man. Big man, huge guy.
Your mom has a type, eh?
Right? But, of course, he was, just to give you perspective, he was a bodyguard.
Okay.
So he was a famous politician in apartheid time. He was the bodyguard for this politician. And he had went to prison because he had killed his wife. That he found his wife with another man and he killed her. And he killed the man and he was in prison. Then he came out and he was in the shelter and we met him there. And my mom fell in love with him. And of course, losing a partner, you need someone to talk to. And he was there for her. But this man used to beat my mom.
Oh, no.
And like I said, you lose your umbrella in bad weather. There's this guy, he's moved into my house and he's hitting my mom. And during that time, that's where I started reading. I was an avid reader. I would read fiction books, and The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. That was the first book I read back to back, and I loved that book. It gave me so much wisdom, and then The Alchemist and all these books. So here I am reading a book, and in the room I'm hearing him, hitting my mom and him telling her to shut up and things breaking. And then as soon as I put my head down into the book, I escape into the book. I'm somewhere in the south of France. Or I'm somewhere in the wherever. And so the third house then represents, the promised land. Oh, sorry, not the promised land, the wilderness. Where God is providing things for us in ways that we're not expecting. And that was him providing me with books. That's the third house. Then eventually we moved. And I'll tell you more about it in a moment. We moved to a different shelter, but then we moved out of the shelter. And we moved into this small 2-bedroom flat. That's the fourth house. That house represents the wilderness. The promised land. Because it's in that house where I started to realize that life is not about the mansions, actually. You can ask God for a mansion and he can give you a 2-bedroom house. You just have to be thankful about that 2-bedroom house. So it's not about these material things that we think about or we really want. It's not about that. If God said he's going to provide you with something, he will do it and he'll do it in his way.
Indeed.
Then I got married. That's the fifth house. So that represents me, my manhood, my fatherhood, my wife and my children. And how I'm still trying to navigate this entire thing. So yeah, that's basically my story. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. You did. And shout out to Galilee as well for hooking us up, because she came to me. She was like, I've got this deep story. I think you'd enjoy it. And I'm like, let me give it a shot. And we're here today. Your life feels like a movie. Your life feels like a movie. Like, what was the hardest part about those environments? Because you mentioned the 4 different houses.
Yeah. 5.
Oh, well,
including this one.
Including this one,
yeah,
as well.
Sure.
And you mentioned how you were moved and how they tried to separate you and your siblings, but thank God they didn't, because I really feel the sense of togetherness between you guys.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part about those environments?
The uncertainty. uncertainty is a concept that makes or breaks people. So, for example, you're in a relationship and your significant other tells you that they'll be home at a specific time. Maybe they're going out with friends. And the first day they come back at that specific time. Cool. But then if it happens that they say that, okay, I'll be back at that specific time, and they don't, a lot of things happen in your head, right? So it's just the uncertainty. But within uncertainty, you can actually find true faith, because the uncertainty reveals that you should trust in someone or you should move your certainty to something else, which is God. So it was just that, man. I mean, my siblings have been through a lot.
Yeah, talk to me about them. How's your relationship with them, and how have you guys been there for each other during those times? Yeah.
So I'm part of 5. My elder sister, she's been through too much, you know. My elder brother as well. My younger sister has been through it. And my little brother, who grew up in the shelter. So when my father died, just to give you perspective, he was 3. He doesn't remember how my father looked like. I mean, it's like a shadow. So he sees my father in me and my elder brother. But we still remember how he looked like, how he carried himself and everything. But, you know, we've just been there for each other, man. We've had tough times, we've had fights, but we're still there for each other. I mean, you've met my elder sister, you know. Yeah. So there's still that thing. There's still that bond and my mom even till this day, she always says, take care of your children, take care of your brothers and sisters, take care of your brothers and sisters. Even my father, before he died, that was his last word to me. He was on his deathbed and he was dying, you know. I was with my mom, we went to go visit him, and he used to call my mom nurse. Nurse, please come help me. You know, as a child, you're seeing all that, it affects you later on. But he called me and I came, and he's like, oh, you Prince. I'm like, yes, Dad. He's like, oh, the one that likes to play with girls. Because I used to like to play with girls when I was young, you know what I'm saying? The one who likes to play with girls. I'm like, yes. He's like, take care of your brothers and sisters. So my mother and my father have always been, they've always spoken the same language. Just take care of each other. Be there for each other.
I think that's beautiful. Yeah. And, you know, today you have your wife, you have your kid. Do you ever find yourself subconsciously going back to those days? Because oftentimes people can misbehave and blame something or blame the past or whatever. But how are you living today, you know, with everything that has happened to you with regards to your wife, your kid, and then your siblings as well, especially your younger brother?
Rudy, it's nothing that I can take credit for. I would say it's the grace of God. Because I do have friends, that life turned out differently for them. And we were all in the shelter together. So for me, it's just the grace of God, man. Just where I am now, the ministry that God has given me, the family that God has given me, the wife, it's just God, man. I've put my faith in God, even from a young age. Yeah. And he has never disappointed me. I mean, the scripture does say that he's the father of the fatherless. Yeah. So not having a father means not having, you know, there's another culture that says when you lose your father, you sink 1 inch into the ground. What does that mean? It means life becomes harder for you, you know. But when you have God, even though life is harder, he has a different way of fathering you. And I mean, if you can even look at the stats, my family is not supposed to be where they are now.
True.
Because they say that most children that grew up from shelter environments, they usually become drug addicts, or they can become murderers, you know. But with us, I mean, we are all good now. We are good, all of us. So it's the grace of God. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
And you know, when was the moment you realized as Prince, like, nah, I don't want this life to define me? When was the turning point?
I speak about this all the time. I was telling my wife the other day, you know, there was this guy that we met within the shelter. I'm not going to talk about his name or tell you his name, but just to give you perspective, blonde hair, blue eyes, gentleman. When we met him in the shelter, he was poor, like everyone else. We didn't think much of him, but he was a kind man. So when we moved out from the first shelter and we moved into the second shelter, we met him. He was no longer homeless. He was different. He was composed, he was just a different man. And then we learned that this individual was working with international foundations. And what they were doing is, if they find your story interesting, they send money your way and they change your life. And this was the 7th year we were in the shelter. I'll never forget. I remember him coming to us and telling us that, you know what, that organization is interested in your story and they want to help. They're buying you guys a house and they're buying you furniture. Mm-hmm. We literally went out and we walked into this house. There were two twin houses beside each other. And he told us a story like, Mom and the children are going to be this side, the boys are going to be this side. Like, well, God has finally answered our prayers because we've been praying. We have been praying at the time. And then he was like, it's time for us to go and do some home shopping, some furniture shopping. And we did. We went to Macro, we went to Game, and we did furniture shopping, dude. Imagine like beds, we bought PlayStations, we bought TVs, we bought couches, we bought everything. God had answered our prayers finally. The next week, this man disappeared with everything.
It's like taking your hope and your faith to the top of the mountain and then... Ooh.
My mom cried. I'm sure even now she still grieves that moment. God, like, where were you? You were not in the fire. You're not in the earthquake. You're not in the wind. Where were you? What happened? Turns out this guy was a fraud. He'd been doing that. I don't know what he did with the furniture. What he did with the houses. Actually, we went to the house afterwards and the real estate agent said, I don't know who you're talking about.
Come on, man.
Like, who are you guys? Mm-hmm. That's the day I realized. That's the day I told myself, no one is coming to save me. No one. I need to make sure that I can do it for myself. And that's when my life transformed because of my mind. That's when my mind transformed. Mm-hmm. And I knew it wasn't going to be something that happens now. It was going to take time. Mm-hmm. And I said, screw it. I'm willing to, I'm willing to wait.
Yeah.
And here I am.
And of course, and as I mentioned in the beginning, you're a novelist. So how did writing come into your life? Was it therapy, escape, or vision? Because now we coming into the
that's an interesting question.
Of course.
I think it was a little bit of all of that. Therapy, escape, and vision. So the way I started writing, I mean, when I was young, I used to just writing raps with my friends and stuff like that. I never thought much of it. And I did history. So, in history, there's lots of essay writing and I got a distinction for history. So just to give you some context, while we were in the shelter took us to school. So we were still at school because people still ask. Within the school, with my friends and stuff, people never knew that we were poor. I've always composed myself in such a way that people wouldn't know what
until you open up to them.
Until I open up to them, exactly. So anyway, I was writing essays and writing poems for my girlfriends. I was the one,
original drama boy.
So one day, I'm walking to the store. I used to smoke cigarettes. Me and my elder brother, we used to binge smoke cigarettes. I'm walking to the store that day, and it's early in the morning. And I'm about to smoke a cigarette. It had snowed the 2 days prior. I go to the store, I get the cigarette and I'm lighting it there and I see this homeless man walk in. He's asking people for food or whatever. And I'd seen him before. He was an average homeless person that you see on the streets. But we all knew him because we see him all the time. But then the question dropped in my spirit, like, bloom. Where was this man when it was snowing? Because when it was snowing, I was in my bed and I had covered 3 or 4 blankets. We had already moved from the shelter then. Mm-hmm. We were in the 4th house. And I had 4 or 5 blankets and it was still freezing. I was dying. was like, where did this man sleep during that day? And something hit me. That's when the first lines of my novel came in. The homeless people are always protected by something. Who else can explain how they survive the worst weather conditions that have us shivering in our beds? They're always protected by something, and whether that protection is spiritual or not, I believe it's there. Plastic blankets and angels. That was the first paragraph, and it turned into a story. Like, this homeless man needs a story. He needs a voice. So, and plus, I had lived with homeless men prior to that, because one of the shelters we lived in, me and my elder brother, they put us to live in the dorm with homeless people. I know how they smell. I know how they speak. I know how they act. There's an etiquette there as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've lived with these people. So who else is best to tell the story? And I put my head down and I started writing. And I wrote like 60,000 words.
Sure.
And I birthed it and I published it.
What's the book called? Where can we find it? Tell us, please.
So it's Plastic Blankets and Angels. You can find it on Amazon, even online. And I have physical copies. So if you need the physical copy, you can just...
don't worry. I'll put all the stuff in the description and then we'll be able to get that sorted. So Yeah. So from shelters to boardrooms, how did you transition to etiquette consulting? And could you please tell us what that is? Because now we're moving from, the difficulties, now we're getting to the fifth house.
Yes.
And now you're this guy, etiquette consultant. Like, what is
Sounds
that?
fancy.
Yeah. And why is there so few of them in the world, in Africa especially?
Yeah. So I was working for the bank. I worked for one of the 4 biggest banks in South Africa, in Africa. While I was working there, I remember I was feeling like there was this thing, man. I wasn't fulfilling my purpose. There was this emptiness. I don't know what it was. It wasn't that I hated the people I was working with. I loved them and I was good at my job. But there was just something that was missing, Rudy. Something that was just missing. There was a void. So I began to volunteer at homeless shelters. And one shelter in particular, well, it's not a shelter, it's a organization, it's a foundation for abused women and children. I found myself there. So as I was volunteering there, I met this man and we just exchanged numbers. He's my mentor now, by the way. He calls me back days later and he said he wants to have a follow-up meeting over coffee. I'm like, sure, I love coffee. Let's sit down and let's chat. Yeah. And we then began to proceed to speak about life and purpose and gifts. And it was just, I could tell this guy was cut from the same cloth as I was. Then he posed a question. He said to me, Prince, what do you think about teaching etiquette? To be fair, I had to kind of remind myself, what is etiquette again, right? Etiquette is the rules and the conventions that govern polite behavior in any circumstance. Mm-hmm. But as he spoke, I began to realize that his goal matched my goal. The goal of this company that he was talking about matched my goal. That was to uplift people and to help people move from one place that they are to the next. Yeah. And afterwards, I called him back and I'm like, sir, let's do this. I'm ready. Mm-hmm. And I started working for the company. And that was then. Now I've trained, I can easily say hundreds of people in this thing called etiquette, which is social and business etiquette. And what I've learned is this: no matter how good you are at your job, no matter how technically proficient you are at your work, if you don't have the skill to stand up and communicate an idea that will make people want to listen to the idea, or you don't have the skill to make people feel good when they're with you, then you as an individual will be lost and your message will be forgotten. Mm-hmm. So that's what we train. We train people how to make first impressions. We train people how to read body language. We train them on how to build rapport, how to build relationships with people. That's just part of what we train. So here I am.
Interesting. Because I want to quickly go to the section called the playbook. It's something I try to introduce in my podcast when I'm dealing with people who do practical.
The playbook.
The playbook. So it's a masterclass. It's a mini masterclass.
Okay.
So
nice.
I want you to answer these questions because I want the viewers to be able to take notes from especially what you're about to say.
Okay.
So that when they go into their walk of life, they're able to be etiquette.
Okay.
So for someone entering a room where they feel less than, what's the first step to showing up with confidence?
I'll give you 3. The first one is self-esteem. So please realize the level of your self-esteem. And when I talk about self-esteem, I'm speaking about how you feel about yourself, what you think about yourself, and the beliefs you hold about yourself. That's self-esteem. So give yourself or rate yourself from 1 until 10. 1 being I always have negative feelings about myself, and 10 being I feel great about myself all the time. Rate yourself. And then figure out how to increase that level of self-esteem, because self-esteem is the foundation of your success. Every goal and ambition that you want to achieve in life, without good self-esteem, you're not going to achieve that. So that's number 1, self-esteem. The next one, always remember that people respond better to humility than to arrogance. So when you meet someone for the first time, empty out your cup, please. How would you feel, Rudy, if you went to this elaborate networking event? Maybe you went there with me. And as we're walking and as we're sitting down there, maybe I introduce you to a man. And this man begins to talk to you and he begins to ask you so many questions about yourself. What are you doing? Where did you go to school? How did you start this podcast? And he seems so interested in you. And you keep talking to him and emptying out your cup to him. And then he excuses himself and he leaves. And then I come and I'm like, Rudy, do you know who that was? Did you know that that guy has 3 degrees? Do you know that guy's a professor and he's a multimillionaire? How would you feel about that man? You feel great, right? You feel like you want to know him more. That's what I mean by emptying out your cup. Don't speak about yourself and don't speak about things that you know. Rather, when you meet someone for the first time and when you enter into a place where you feel less than, just lean into that. Find out more about the person. Okay? And then the next one, so the first one was self-esteem. The next one was emptying your cup.
What are the most common mistakes people make with etiquette, business or social?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot. The first one, punctuality. People think that because we're in Africa, because of African time, it's okay to be late.
I despise that, bruv.
No. Nothing says that you don't respect someone's time than being late. Okay? Punctuality is number 1. That's what people usually get wrong. The second one is greetings. Did you know that when you meet someone for the very first time, it takes 5 seconds for you to make a first impression upon them? And within that 5 seconds, someone's already summing you up and putting you in a box of who they think you are and what they think you do. Your greeting is also involved because your greeting is your first physical interaction you have with someone. Make sure that it's strong because it will convey that you have confidence. And then the next one, I'll tell you the next one later.
I like those answers. I'm going to steal that. How can etiquette shape not just perception, but actual opportunities?
How can etiquette shape opportunities, not just perception, but opportunities? Through respect, through showing appreciation, through charisma. So let me break that down for you. Through respect, because you should always strive to respect everyone. That's what my mom taught me. I never learned this from I never learned this from etiquette. My mom always told me respect everyone. Whether the person is cleaning the tables or whether the person's a CEO, respect them. Because respect takes, it goes a long way. The second one is appreciation. This is very important because this is a hack. If you show someone appreciation, you're showing them that you value them. It's as though you're having a braai at the house, You invite people, and people come and they eat and they leave. And then a few days later, you receive a handwritten letter from someone who attended that you just met in passing. And in the letter, the person's telling you how they loved the food, they loved the vibe, they love your family. How would you feel about that person?
Feel great. Yeah.
That's appreciation. That can open a door for you because everyone wants to feel valued and appreciated. The third one is charisma. Now, charisma is a skill. It's a skill that you can learn. What is charisma? It's how your conversations go with people privately and publicly. So when I'm speaking to you on a private in private matters when we are alone, how do I make you feel when I once have spoken to you? That's charisma. And the most charismatic conversationalists, they speak only 20% of the time. They listen 80% of the time, which means listening is involved. And then it has two heads, charisma. It's private and then it's public. So publicly, how do you speak? Public speaking, I know you have no problem with that.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the answer. So it's appreciation. How do you show people appreciation? Whether it's in a boardroom and the person has said something and afterwards tell them like, well, you know what you said really touched me this way, that way. People love that. Your doors can be opened through that. And it's respect. Let me tell you a story about respect quickly. So we're training one of the companies that we train, and we're doing a graduate program. So this program is when a company has graduates, and the graduates, we teach them how to behave at work. It's called a Workplace Readiness Graduate Program. And when we're training this lovely cohort, I remember each and every one of their names. They made such an impression on me. But one boy in particular stood out to me. I'm not going to mention his name. He knows who he is. What this boy did was he showed me so much respect that I ended up talking to the managers about this boy. He needs to go to the toilet. I'm facilitating and I'm sitting down and I'm speaking with the cohort. He comes, he sits, so he goes on both knees.
Deep.
And he says to me, "Sir, sorry, can I please go to the toilet?" And I say, "Sure, you can." And he stands up and he leaves. That shaped my perception of him. It's that I even went to the managers and I said, "That boy, please." So that's how etiquette can shape opportunities through respect, through appreciation, and through charisma. Charisma being, if you can talk well and you can convey your ideas well, and people can feel listened by you, they'll open doors with you. You know why? Everyone wants to work with the person that can articulate their ideas for them. So we train on that. We train on public speaking. Yeah. Have I answered you?
Yeah, of course. And can you share 3 practical tips that any young African professional can start applying today? Just 3 practical tips.
Okay. The first one would be learn how to build relationships. Because you are probably around people most of the time. Learn the skill of building relationships. Then the second one would be learn the power of a first impression. First impression is broken down into 3 things. When someone sees you for the first time, they're judging you on 3 things, knowingly and unknowingly. It's the way you look, it's the way you behave, and it's the way you're communicating. So learn how to sharpen those 3 things. Try to look the part. Dress the way you want to be addressed, as they say. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
Behave properly. If you're in certain settings, behave well, please. Young professional listening. Thirdly is communication. How are you communicating? How are you using your body language to communicate? So that all goes into the first impression. So to learn how to build relationships, learn how to make a good first impression. And yeah, I think I'll leave it with those 2.
And how does one balance cultural identity with global professionalism?
Cultural identity. Your culture makes you beautiful, first and foremost. Your culture makes you beautiful. But respecting someone else's culture makes you professional.
Oh, wow. That's deep, bro.
right?
Wow.
There's a story about this lady that owned a paper company. Now, paper companies, they don't make money, or they are also real estate companies, because you need land with trees in order for you to be a paper company. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, she was a white lady. She was a CEO. She went to KZN in order for her to speak to one of the Zulu chiefs for land, because they had the land that she was looking for, with the trees that she was looking for, in order for them to make paper. When she got there, they told her, "We don't speak to women here. Women are supposed to be inside the kitchen serving us." She had two choices. She could either say, "You know what, screw this business. Screw this land. Let me go find business elsewhere." Or she could do the second option, which she did. Second option was, she called in one of her interns, who was a man, a black man, and she said, "Come, I want you to go and negotiate this deal for me, for us." And guess where she was this whole time? She was in the kitchen serving them, and they got the deal.
That's humility as well, bro.
It's about, so it's about respecting someone else's culture in a professional setting, while still having your identity, your cultural identity. And
That's beautiful. So obviously we've spoken about so many things, and we press for time, and I'm trying to cover everything whilst telling a story in the hopes that those watching see the journey, and you mentioned that you're married, you have a kid. So how do you balance fatherhood, being a husband, your activities at church, work, all the things that you do? How do you balance it? Spending time with your siblings, your mom, how does it all work for you?
That's an interesting question. No one has ever actually asked me that question before.
It's an honor.
How do I balance? Through routine.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think it's the same with almost every man I know, just through routine. So I give this amount of time to my wife. I give this amount of time to my children. I give this amount of time to my writing. I give that amount of time to my work. I give this amount of time to my siblings, to my mom, and I give this amount of time to work. And that's yourself? A full week.
And to yourself?
Me giving myself to people, that's me giving myself to myself.
No one understands that, because I'm like that. And oftentimes it's like, how can you give so much of yourself to others? What's left for you? I'm about the people. So it's nice to hear that. It's refreshing.
Yeah, I'm about the people as well. Yeah. Because remember that people make culture. And culture is what we need, is what we use in order for us to become successful.
And after everything, go ahead.
Sorry,
go ahead.
And also people make conversations. Conversations is what makes culture. If the conversations are wrong, then the culture becomes wrong. The culture gets affected. We also teach companies, we teach corporates, and we teach them the importance of conversational intelligence, which my mentor is so good at teaching. I'm just sitting under him like, we go into organizations and we fix their culture within the organizations through the things I'm mentioning here.
And after everything you've been through and seen and have experienced, what does dignity mean for you?
Wow. That's a loaded question.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
Talking about you, Prince, what does it mean for you? Not for me or Gladys behind the camera. Just for you.
For me, it's one of my values. It's one of the things that I live for. Right? Dignity. It's how you show up when things are not really going well. It's how you stand when you've been pressed down. But you still look as though you're standing on your own. Or you don't look like you're being pressed down. It's how you treat other people, knowing that you are less than them. And how you carry yourself in public. It's etiquette also, in a way. Because when people see you for the first time, they're already boxing you into a place that they think you are. And which is fine. We all do that.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But how then do you still continue being who you are? Even though there's temptations around you, even though there's so much that so many things that are pushing you to become someone else. When do you actually know or find yourself? And how then do you stay and stand in those shoes and say, this is me? That's what dignity is to me.
And what lessons from your journey would you want your children to learn the most? What would you want them to inherit from you?
Yeah, well, it depends. My daughter, son, I want them to learn different things. Let's talk about my son. So, my son, my boy, I love that boy, man. Sure. I'm living for him at the moment. I want him to know that nothing in life comes free. There's a few lessons that I want him to learn. Nothing in life comes free. But a relationship with God is free. I want him to learn that you should not make fun of your brother to entertain the table.
I love that.
I want him to know that in pursuing your passion, you will find your gifts. I want him to know God is real because his father has had an encounter with God himself. And then for my daughter, it's different. So I want her to know that she can be strong. She can be a strong, independent woman. I want her to also know that it's also fine to be a woman in the house. It's also fine. I want her to know that life can be beautiful if you are beautiful first. And yeah, man, homeless people are still people. And they still need a smile from us when we are, during our busy days. They still need food from us. Just don't give them money. Buy bread and milk and give them. And yeah, that's what, my daughter, she loves homeless people as well. Sometimes when we're driving in the car, she'll be like, oh, Dad, there's a homeless man over there. Do you have any money for us to give him?
Love that, yeah.
I don't see her much. She's with her mom, but it's something that as a father, you instill in them, that anyone can be homeless. In the shelter, I've met ex-millionaires. I've met ex-bodyguards. I've met gangsters, like your 26s and 28 gangsters. I've met people that come from far. I've met foreigners. I've met foreign nationals. People with all different types of stories, but we met at the shelter. So even us, even you could end up homeless. As you're not exempt to it. And what I wrote in the book is that if you find yourself in that situation, the same person you're looking down on will be your teacher.
Wow, it's deep. And when you look back at the boy in the shelter, what would you tell him today?
Hey man, I'll tell him just to keep on. I've actually had this interaction with the boy. So my second novel, it's called The Shape of Things. I did this thing, and I don't know why I did it. I think I was led by the Spirit. But I found a picture when I was a boy in the shelter. And every morning, I'd pick up the picture and I'll look at the picture. I'll look into my eyes and I'll find the emotion. And then I'll go and write. Then at night, before I sleep, I'll do the same thing. And I was able to write the novel through those feelings. So I would just tell him that, just keep doing what you're doing. I got bullied, man. I really got bullied. Yeah, I really did. I would tell him to stand up for himself. Because I didn't stand up to my bully. And we met years later. I wrote that in my third book, The Mental Illness, which I'm rewriting. But I wrote there that I met my bully years later. And guess what? I'm bigger than him. I'm stronger than him.
You want to call us so we can fetch him?
No, like...
Oh, damn.
But you know what happened? You know what was so funny? We met and we exchanged numbers. And I sent him a message. I said, hey man, I just want to say I'm thankful for the thing that happened between you and me, because I'm the man who I am now because of that. And then he was like, yo bro, I respect you, the man that you are now. Because that by the time there was that buzz around me, I'd just released a novel, and all over Facebook, all over social media, people were buying my novel. I mean, it's been read like, I think 500 times right now. 500 copies have been out there.
Congratulations.
So, it was so strange that we sat down and we began to speak. Did you know that he had lost his father the same time I had lost mine? Oh. He was projecting that way, and I was projecting this way. If we had just sat down to speak, we would have become best friends. And that's why in my family, the family that I'm building now, I was speaking to my wife and was speaking about legacy. And she was like, no, legacy means you leaving, a name, or you leaving millions of rands and dollars or whatever. And I'm like, that's not what legacy is to me, because of what I've gone through. It might be for you. It might be legacy for you. But for me, it's my family name.
Ndaba.
Like, I'm rewriting. Like, you must sit down with my wife and she'll tell you. We've even created a crest, a family crest, that has symbols on the crest that mean certain things. So there's a cross that means Christ. We have had encounters with Christ. There's also a chair on the family crest. Because in my house, as my sister will attest, we sit down and we chat, we talk.
I love that, yeah.
So if I had sat down with this bully of mine and we had sat down and talked, we would have become best friends. I was too weak. I was too weak. I couldn't, but later on in life, I should have just gave him one,
Yeah, you should have.
Yeah.
We are etiquette men, so we speak.
Yeah. Doesn't mean I'm not dangerous,
Of course. They mustn't get it wrong. They mustn't get it twisted. And, to close, bro, how would you measure success today?
How would I measure success?
For you.
For me? I would measure success on the scale of peace.
It's different. It's not material.
And it's not peace. It's peace with God that becomes peace with human beings and everyone else. You're blessed when you're at peace with your enemy.
That's deep, bro. Because
people measure this success as material. But I mean, I've been, like I said, in the shelter, there were ex-millionaires there, trust fund babies. What's after the success? If success doesn't stay, what's after? So you're measuring success, which means you're not successful. No, it's peace, bro. It's peace. That even in the storm, within the storm, storms come. There's this saying that says, it's a saying for men. It says that if you're not in a storm, then you've just come out of a storm. If you haven't come out of a storm, there's a storm coming. There's always going to be a storm.
Yeah, that's rough, yeah.
So where's the peace within the storm? And if you can't find it, then if I can't find it, then I'm not successful.
Wow, bro. Like I said, there's so much to cover. But,
there's so many.
For time. You spoke about the bully. I wanted to know about that. But I hope that I've done justice to you and your family in terms of telling your story, their story. I remember off camera and on WhatsApp, you kept asking for reassurance, like, is it safe for me to do it? And I said, bro, your story is safe with me and with those who watch it, because we are here to just share stories, to inspire people, to motivate people, to show people, the importance of resilience, faith. And, one of my favorite hashtags that I've started is called The Future's African. Because I really believe we have so much to give, not to the world, forget the world, to our continent.
The future is African.
You know what I'm saying? That's my hashtag. And I really believe that. And when I see a young man, we're just a year apart, you're older than me by a year. When I see someone so young doing the right things, no matter the temptations, no matter the difficulties, no matter the past, you're still looking ahead. That's something I want to be associated with. And how much more to share the story so that someone else can, get inspired and motivated. So thank you for trusting me and my viewers with your story. Like I said, we hope we've done it justice. And to our viewers, thank you so much for always watching, subscribing. Shout out to Missouri Coffee for the lovely coffee, the hot chocolates here, cappuccino there. Thank you for showing love to me and as I show love to the world. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And I want to close by this. No matter how dark the season, faith and resilience can rewrite your story.
Ooh.
I'm Rudy Samuel and I'm signing out. Thank you so much.